This year was a year of many records because I didn't want to have to tell the whole wide world that I was wrong. Video, which is my playbooks and the win percentage. Is Tori a scammer? Is any of this even real? Hi guys, we have made it to the end of 2024. Now is the time for me to go over all of my trading stats, the nitty-gritty, dissect my entire year of my trading performance. We're going through the profit factor, the trade win percentage, the win to loss ratio, everything profit and loss, percentages, ticks, whatever you guys need to know, we're going through all of it today in our 2024 trade performance breakdown. I made a total of $203,000 in just 17 trades. So I decided to continue this trend by doing another year review after the feedback I got from last year. I did my entire 2023 year review showing you guys that I placed 57 trades. I showed you guys the struggles I had in January, the total profit and loss. So I'm gonna continue to showcase all of my trading, my skills for 2024. Last year, I was making the transition from a day trader to a 4-hour swing trader. It was tough. I was struggling. The first month, I think I was down $6,000, brought my account from $20,000 down $6,000. So I already had to make so much more of an effort to continue through the new time frame in 2023, whereas this year was completely different. I was able to just see this 4-hour time frame click. I didn't have to second guess, overthink, no hesitation. The 4-hour time frame swing trading this year completely clicked for me. The differences between last year and this year is I've just really found my confidence in swing trading, whereas last year I was still trying to find out what swing trading was and kind of find my way, staying in the 4-hour time frame, leaving the 1-hour time frame behind, and this year I did it with grace. So even though I didn't have the same struggles that I had last year, I found new struggles. So being a swing trader, I have found that holding trades are exhausting, and it is a skill you have got to develop over time with just purely experience. You've got to hold trades for weeks on end, being in drawdown, being in profit, watching it go back in drawdown, and then closing the trade and being completely exhausted by the end of it. So that's just something the experience you'll get through just holding longer, just purely being in the new time frame, being a swing trader. And those were the different struggles that I had. So not to say that I didn't have any this year, because there were still struggles, but very different than I had last year. Last year was just purely trying to get a hold of swing trading, kind of leaving the day trading mindset, leaving the lower time frames, and then looking at a bigger picture. So those were the struggles last year. This year, I'm struggling with trade exhaustion. I am taking on higher risk this year as well. So seeing those bigger profits and not wanting to just immediately close because of a dollar amount. So talking about psychology, we can get a little bit into when I actually dissect some of these trades, but now let's actually get into the trades. So I will start with just breaking it down by month. There's not very many trades, so these are gonna be very easy to go through. So let's get into the stats that I had for January. Before we get into it, I wanna show you guys the dashboard that I use and the site that I use to track all of my trades so that I can convey all of this information to you guys. So I use TradeZella. This is a trade journaling platform. It automatically syncs to my brokerage and I don't have to do much work. It will sync to my brokerage anytime I open and close a trade. All of the stats get shot into this program. So the only work that it requires on my end is to go back through and actually dissect the trade as a whole. Why did I enter? Why did I exit? And kind of journal my thoughts. But this is an incredible platform where you can showcase your profit factor. You can see your net profit and loss, your win percentage. You can truly dissect everything about your trades, your trading stats, your year as a whole, your month, your week. This is the kind of like the Google Analytics of trading. So highly recommend TradeZella. If you guys haven't signed up, click the link below. And now let's get into my stats for January. All right, January 2024, I placed one singular trade. I already remember the mindset I was in. I was having FOMO. I hadn't placed a trade for most of January. We're at the last week of January. And then finally I was presented with an entry. I was confident. I took the trade and closed it on January 29th for a profit of $10,000. Let's dissect this trade as a whole. The coolest part about TradeZella is I can go back and actually see the chart in real time, where I was, the entry, the exit, where my lines were. Now there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy for some of these instruments because I'm not sure if TradeZella has the ability to toggle the bid adjustment on and off. So you guys might see a little bit of a discrepancy here on where my lines are at versus where the entry was. But you guys can see I have the entry here at $913.99 and then we have an exit at $935.40. It was a long position. I traded 10 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 2,141 ticks. And then let's kind of just go through all of it. So I won't do too much as far as the journaling because I have many videos where I kind of break down how I journal my trades. Why do I give my trade a 3.5-star rating? Why did I label it as high risk, trendline break, 3 touch point break? Why did I label it as a FOMO mistake? So I'll go through as much of a broad overview as I can on the journaling aspect, but I have plenty of videos that you guys can click the link down below to see or watch one of these videos where I totally dissect my trading journal. Okay, so this was my entry. We're looking at a trendline break. The price broke through this downward trend line. I took a long position at $913.99 and price continued in my favor. We were in drawdown and then boom, we finally got a good enough move to close my position at $935.40. Now I've got different playbooks. We're gonna get into this at the end of the video. I have 2 different playbooks that I'm gonna go over, and it is a 2 touch point break and a 3 touch point break. We're gonna go over the stats of each one at the end of the video, so stay tuned. A little sneak peek is gonna show you guys that win percentage does not mean anything. But this right here was a 2 touch point break. I went long after the price broke this downward trend line that had 2 touch points. Long position here, we're in drawdown. It's within my parameters. It is abiding by my safety line. And boom, we got a spike up, close the trade. I closed it because we were at a horizontal level of resistance here, this 930.88, and I was happy. It was my first trade of the year. Let's capitalize on 10 grand. I'll take it. Let's move on to the next trade. Okay, so all of January, that's it. One singular trade, $10,000. Let's move on to February. So being a swing trader, coming into 2024 in the 4-hour time frame, I was experiencing a little bit of FOMO. I hadn't placed a trade for the first half of January. I didn't get into the trade until January 23rd. So this was a little bit of I'd say a rushed decision. Ideally, I like a 3 touch point trendline break. I want enough information. I want an A+ clean setup. This one wasn't, A++. This was like a mediocre setup, but I think FOMO and getting into already the end of the month of January, starting out my year, there was a lot to dissect here. So comparing it to my year last year, I had a little bit of PTSD. My last January was awful, was completely awful, was embarrassing. I had to showcase that I lost 6 grand on social media while simultaneously saying that I'm gonna become a swing trader, follow me along this journey, and it sucked. I was really hesitant. A lot of hesitation coming into January. I wasn't sure if the price action was gonna be clean. So we're looking at week 3 of January. Finally, I placed my trade. Not ideal, not A+, a little bit FOMO driven, but regardless, we've got a profit nonetheless, so I'll take it. Definitely some psychological stuff was taken over for most of January. But now let's get into February. February, I also placed one singular trade. We have a $29,000, we'll call it $30,000 trade in February. No trades at the first half of February. I didn't get into this trade until February 12th. Now let's break this one down as well. This one right here was a 3 touch point trendline break entry. Let's go over the position. So we took a long position in platinum at 888.72. I was able to capitalize on 1.9 R. I gave myself 4 stars for this trade setup, and it just felt a little better. So we were already able to kind of rip the Band-Aid off for the first trade of the year in January. Now we're coming into February a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident, taking a little bit more of an A+ setup right here with this 3 touch point trendline setup. So let me zoom out so you guys can see a little bit clearer idea here. We've got 1, 2, 3 touch points on a downward trend line. Price broke, we took a long position here, and then closed at a level of resistance at 918.52. So this one was pretty easy. I felt like I was getting the momentum. I was getting a hang on things. So let's talk about the profit here. So we're looking at a $30,000 trade in February. A singular trade, open and closed, $30,000 profit. One thing that I want to kind of express to you guys is that this year was a year of many records. I hit personal bests back to back to back. So if I'm being honest with you, I'm not sure if this was my record trade at the time. I think, I could be wrong, but we'll kind of dissect it a little bit more as we go through the year. I'll be able to remember my $40,000, absolutely, because that's still to date one of my record trades. But this one, this $30,000 trade, I can almost guarantee was my record trade at the time. So there was a lot of emotions. It's a very exciting thing to not only have just placed 2 trades in the year, we're only in the 2nd month of the year, both profits, we're feeling good, but also close a record trade. It's an incredible feeling. All right, so we're looking at 2 trades already for the year, first 2 months of the year. Both profits. Let's see if we find any losses here. Let's get into March. Okay, so March, we closed a $10,000 trade. That put me at $50,000 for the first 3 months of the year. That is so exciting. I wasted no time and decided to withdraw all $50,000 on the 7th of March and used those funds to actually completely furnish my new apartment in Nashville. It was incredibly fulfilling. I have a video where I kind of did a walkthrough. It was more of like this surprise. I gave these interior designers like an idea or a vision, and I got to completely furnish my entire new home in Nashville. And to use 100% of the funds from trading was mind-blowing to me. So March was an awesome month. We closed $50,000 trading profits for the first 3 months. We withdrew all $50,000 and put it towards furnishing my apartment in Nashville. But there's one more trade at the end of the month. So we're looking at 2 trades. This one right here, we have our first loss. I took a $2,800 loss at the very end of March. Let's kind of dissect this trade here. Okay, so if you guys have been following along for many of my videos this year, there's probably one video that you have seen many a times, and it is me beating myself up about getting into the wrong contract for platinum. When I'm swing trading and I'm trading the futures market, there are expiration dates in these contracts, and to make sure that you get into the right one is fairly crucial. Otherwise, you will get into a contract and it will expire in the next few days and your position will be liquidated. So I got into the wrong contract in platinum at the end of March. So I went ahead and closed my position. I solidified a $2,800 loss and then re-entered into the current contract where we then in turn made a profit. I wouldn't have had to solidify that loss. So whether it was a loss based on the strategy or a loss based on just poor execution, it's a loss nonetheless. So we have our first loss of the year, $2,800 in March. Let's move on to the next month. We've got an awesome beginning trade. 3rd of April, we closed $30,000. Let's dissect this trade. It is a 3 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 2.04R, and the chart isn't as beautifully marked up as most of mine are, but here you can still see we've got point A, point B, 2 touch points, downward trend line. We've got a break, and I was actually in drawdown for most of the beginning of this trade. Then finally, price took off. We were able to close at 948.89 for a profit of $30,000. I went long 20 contracts and was able to capitalize on 6,031 ticks. I will say, being in drawdown in this trade, as long as you have proper risk management or proper safety line placement, drawdown is natural. It's normal. You're gonna have losing trades. You're gonna have moments where you enter and you're immediately in drawdown. So without proper risk management, you are at risk for losing all of your money. So let's have proper risk management or proper safety line placement. So we've had an entry, long position, 918.73, closed it at 948.89. We capitalized on $30,000. So the mistake that I labeled on this trade was consolidation. I excel when prices are trending, and I happen to make a mistake and enter when markets were consolidating. And it's way cool to be able to label your trades like this. Okay, so that was just the very first trade of April. Let's see if I placed any more trades in that month. Spoiler alert. I did. All right, 3rd of April, closed $30,000. I didn't trade for almost 3 weeks after that. But then finally, we opened a position on April 25th and closed it before the end of the month. We closed this position on April 29th for a total of $24,000. This one was a 2 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 1.55R, and let's break this trade down. So notice this is platinum right here. This is the second trade that I placed in April, and also only the second instrument that I have traded in the entire year. I'm only trading platinum and crude oil. Okay, so let's break this trade down. We've got a downward trend line, only 2 touch points here, point A, point B. Price broke out, and we took our long position here at 920.79. Price continued up. We closed, as you can see, I don't have a horizontal level marked up here, but you can kind of see just visually where this red horizontal is at 966.20. Price got to this level of resistance. I closed. One thing that I want to start talking about this year, because this is something that I've noticed, is that most of my exits, if not all, were based on a level of support and resistance. And I can tell this is 1, because of trade exhaustion, and 2, because I am taking on more risk this year. I am more inclined to just take profit because I am simply up a dollar amount. I am trading bigger profits than I have in the past. I am closing positions that are bigger than I have in the past. It's more that I'm comfortable with, more that I'm used to. So when I see $24,000 or $30,000, simply just because I see the dollar amount, I am so much more inclined to close it. Whereas you guys know that I am a trendline trader. I have action lines and safety lines, and my strategy excels when I can hold the trade out for its entirety, wait for the safety line to get crossed. You can see here in almost all of the trades this year, the exits were based on support and resistance or a horizontal level here or a key level, not based on a safety line getting broken. So you can already see this is kind of one of the things I was struggling with this year specifically, psychologically, is the bigger dollar amounts. So I'm working on it. You will be able to see kind of, I work through it as the year progresses, as I continue to place more trades, but this is a very obvious first point that I can see I was struggling with was just the dollar amount. So higher dollar amounts, I was more inclined to close it, whereas I should have waited for a safety line to get broken. So just one thing I can already see going back through and dissecting the years so far. $24,000, we got an entry, we got an exit. We did 20 contracts. We were able to capitalize on 4,862 ticks here, and my R was 1.55. So that was April. Let's see what we got next. So we are on the 6th trade of the year now. We're at end of April, trade closed, month closed. Let's see what I did next. May, no trades. I was in a position to take an entire month off of trading. I was satisfied with my trading. I'm hitting personal bests. I'm making withdrawals. I'm on cloud 9. So I gave myself an entire month of no trades. All right, I gave myself yet another month. Now maybe this wasn't necessary. 2 months of a break probably didn't need, but I took all of May and all of June off of trading. I was focusing on content creation, on my team, on some new business endeavors. So this is the coolest part about trading is when you reach a level or a goal that you're satisfied with or you're happy with, you have the ability to just take a break. You can quit for a month. 2, I don't know if was completely necessary, but I gave myself 2 months. Now let's get into July. July, I remember July. This is a beautiful example of what you shouldn't do as a trader when you have ego, you've got a big head, you're thinking you're the best trader in the world. Then you're thinking, why don't we just experiment with crypto futures? I got into an Ethereum trade, held for 3 weeks, was down $30,000. Somehow the trade came back up and I closed with $46. I have an entire video of that trade breakdown. It was a mistake in every way, shape, or form. I held through drawdown. I got rid of a stop loss. I was willing to risk it all for Ethereum futures. Wow, but somehow I came out positive on that trade. So I can already see psychologically, ego way too high. Confidence maybe too high there. To experiment with a new instrument, especially crypto futures, something I've never done before. I remember social media was involved here. I made a video on social media talking about how this is a great entry and it did really well. And then I felt like I was obligated to take that entry since I told social media this was such a great entry and ended up being a complete flop. It was a mess. It was a nightmare. And I continue to hold purely because I didn't want to have to tell the whole wide world that I was wrong. And somehow, luckily, I got out of that trade with $46. You guys can click the video here to see that entire trade breakdown. It's not one of my best, but I at least broke it down for you guys, all the mistakes I made and how to not do what I did. But we did place another trade. We came back. So we're done experimenting. We're done throwing our strategy in the trash. We're done kind of veering from whatever path I should be on, and we're back to it. Beautiful trading, beautiful execution. We got into a futures trade on the 26th of July and then closed it on the 31st for my record trade to date. So after that nightmare of a trade, I was able to lock back in and we got into a trade on the 26th of July and closed it on the 31st for my record trade. To date, this is still my best trade I've ever had. It is a $40,000 trade. Let's break it down. It was in platinum, a 3 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 2.9R here. Let's look at the chart here. We have got a 3 touch point trendline break, point A, point B, point C here. Price broke. We took a long position. No drawdown here. Bar after bar after bar, it's working. We're in profit. Now, this one I will say, we closed yet again because it got to a level of support and resistance. It acted as support over here, acted as resistance over here. I closed at 988.30. Looking at this chart, you would think that I knew something that everyone didn't. I happened to close here at the high it made at the time. Did I know it was going to completely turn around and just fall off a cliff after this? I had no earthly idea. No. I closed this trade simply because we got to a level of resistance. Does it make you feel good? Closing at a top? Absolutely it does. And does it make you feel good when it's an absolute record trade? Yeah, I'm feeling great after this trade. So we got a lot of records here, a lot of personal bests, especially to come back after such a huge mistake in experimenting with crypto futures. I love that I can just lock back in and then boom, we got a record trade here. So we went long 20 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 7,939 ticks here and our R was 2.92. That was a great trade. Love that one for me. So recap of July, 2 trades, 1 awful, somehow closed at $46 after being in $30,000 worth of drawdown. And then closed my record trade, $40,000 on the 31st of July. August, I'm a Leo. Usually my August months are incredible. This time around, anticlimactic. I placed 1 trade on the 13th, closed it the next day for $3,000, and then took my first official loss of the year. I know we talked about the one that I had by poor execution, getting into the wrong contract, but this one was an official loss based on the strategy. And I was incredibly proud of this loss. Okay, so let's go over the first trade in August. It was a $3,000 trade. This is a 2 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 0.26R, and let's look at the charts. Okay, so we've got a 2 touch point trendline break, point A, point B here. We took a short position, but you can see I closed very shortly after. I will be honest with you guys, this was an accidental close. I did not have order confirmation on TradingView on my phone, so if I accidentally hit the X, the trade is gone. It is over. Poof. Whereas now I have order confirmation on, so if I hit the X, it says, "Are you sure?" And then you hit yes, and then the trade is closed. You live and you learn. So I was still able to capitalize on almost $3,000. I'll take it, sure. But you can see the exit, there was no rhyme or reason here. That was because of an accidental trade. The exit should have technically still been at the same price, but days later. Okay, the next one was a proper loss based on proper risk management. I love going over good losers, so let's go over this one here next. This was a $6,500 loss. Let's see why I entered and why I exited. We have got a 3 touch point trendline break. So according to the strategy, this is A+. It's low risk. We've got 3 touch points on our downward trend line. We're thinking long positions, let's get in. Price broke up, we're thinking long, and it simply just didn't work out. It faked us all out. So it looked as though it made everyone think we're going up, we're going long, and snapped right against us, we got out. So you can see the exit was because the safety line was crossed. So this right here is where I excel, especially when the markets do move in my favor, is when I can close the trade based on the safety line getting crossed and not the price getting to an area of support and resistance. Now, I am still doing incredible by closing those trades at the support and resistance levels, or at these key levels here, but I excel and I'm able to capitalize on the most when I can close when the safety line is crossed. So this is an example of when the safety line is crossed, but it's a loss instead of a winner. Entry here at 965.44 and exit here at 958.94. So let's talk about why I'm excited to go over a loss and why I'm happy about this loss. One, I'm always happy to have small losers versus a blown account, versus a giant fat loss on my hands. Truly just being able to see proper risk management, we love. I will take a small loser over a giant loss any day of the week. Write that down. We're paying a fee, we're not taking a giant loss. And that's kind of the way that I like to look at my losses, as fees. They're small, they're tangible, they're properly managed. And this is the coolest part to see, all right, I took a long position, it didn't work out, I'm happy to give the market $6,000 of my cash versus my entire capital. So you can see even after closing the trade, yes, we took the $6,500 loss, but market conditions were shiza anyways. It didn't go anywhere. We made everybody think we were going up, and then we went down, and then we made everyone think we were going down, and then we went up. So consolidation spiked everyone out, faked everyone out, not fun anyways. I'll take a loss to avoid that any day of the week. Okay, moving on. Okay, August 20th. That was all of August. All right, we have made it to the end of August. 10th trade total for the year. I'm still mind blown. I have finally done it. I've made the transition from day trader to swing trader and doing it beautifully. 10 trades out of the year, absolutely, that's a swing trader. And we're only in August, 8 months so far. Let's get into September. September, I placed a little bit more trades. So now I love that I just said how proud I am of being a swing trader and being very picky about my trades and staying to that higher time frame. And then we come in September with 4 trades. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 trades in just September. Let's talk about it. Here we go. We're getting closer to the end of the year. I have publicly told the internet, social media, that I have a goal of $200,000 in trading profits. You can imagine, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, there is a little bit of urgency. I'm ready to hit that goal. I'm a little bit nervous. What if I don't hit that goal? I want to capitalize on the market conditions as they were in September. They were great market conditions in September. We had a lot of movement. I was able to place 4 trades. That's more than I would have liked as a swing trader, but I already know, I'm thinking, okay, we've got to publicly at the end of the year either say I did it or I failed you guys. And there's a lot going on psychologically to get into these trades. So 1, we placed too many trades. That's all right. I can see just overview of September. Yeah, we overtraded, especially for a swing trader. We came out on top, profit of $53,000. Love that. So let's get into the first trade of the month. It was closed on September 6th. We were able to capitalize on $18,000. I think I remember closing this in a sauna. I experimented with a bigger position size. I was able to feel something new for the first time in a while. I got nervous because of a bigger position. All thanks to my strategy, though, I'm still able to properly manage my risk, but I did close this trade purely based on dollar amounts, and it was kind of fun to experiment with a new feeling. Bigger dollar amounts, bigger risk, a bigger position than I'm used to. I will say that's probably my only one for the year where I really just went heavy in a position just to see what it felt like. So first trade of September, done and closed. Exposure therapy, check. Next trade. All right, this one was in crude oil, 20 contracts. We're back down to reality here. We've got a 2 touch point trendline break, and we were able to capitalize on $26,656. Let's look at the trade here. Now this one was closed pretty quickly. The price moved aggressively within just a few hours, so I didn't have to hold this for a week or for a few days. I was able to close this the next day. We made a pretty big movement in the markets and price ended up getting to an area of resistance pretty quickly. So I was able to capitalize on $26,656, 20 contracts in crude oil, and we are looking at 2,669 ticks. And I was able to make 3.66 R. So we've got point A here, point B here, price broke. We're thinking long positions. We went long at 67.96 and closed at 69.30. So yes, I was able to capitalize on $26,000 here, but let's see how much I was willing to lose if this trade did not work in my favor. So if we go down to trade risk, this is my initial risk. If the trade immediately went against me, I was willing to lose $7,290. Now this was an instance where I made money. The price worked in my favor. The strategy worked out for me. But if this was to be a trade that didn't work out, this is what my risk management looks like. I was willing to lose $7,000 if this didn't work out. Love it. All right, moving on. Third trade of September. Here we go. This was a loss. This was a $13,000 loss. One of the biggest losses, and I think biggest losses total of the year, this one right here, $13,574. This is yet another loss according to the strategy. A little bit higher than I would have liked, but regardless, purely by the book. And let's kind of go over what this looks like. I love dissect the losers much more than the winners because, I mean, you can place a trade and get out because you were winning, but how can you manage a loss? How can you manage risk effectively? So we've got a 2 touch point trend line break here, point A, point B. Price broke. I mean, it was a clean break, beautiful. We're making money immediately. We entered at 985.60 in platinum here. You can see the downward trend line. Price broke the downward trend line. So we're thinking long positions. We're in a long position, 20 contracts. There were days where price went absolutely nowhere. Bar after bar after bar, nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. We're not making any money. Maybe we're up a little bit, we're down a little bit, we're up a little bit. Finally, we're looking at Friday, September 20th. We got some movement. Not in my favor. Down, red bar, red bar, red bar, and then here, finally, the upward line is the line that manages my risk. This is called my safety line. As soon as price breaks the safety line, my capital is at risk. So that is how I know, high alert, red alert, it's time to close the trade. Luckily, I have proper risk management. I have a great strategy to tell me exactly when to get out. Closed at 13,574. Now, I did hold a little bit longer. I wanted to give this every chance to turn around. And thank gosh to my strategy, thank gosh to proper risk management, I closed because it didn't turn around. If I would have held thinking, okay, maybe it'll turn around, it would have been yet another bar after bar after bar against me. Bigger loss, bigger loss, bigger loss. So this is where risk management comes into play. Make sure for the third or fourth or fifth time you have proper risk management when trading. All right, the end of September, we're looking at 2 trades, which I was unaware of. Let's see. So we've got the 25th and the 26th. It's looking like we've got 2 trades, but we've got a total profit of $21,000. Let's break that down. Let's see what this looks like here. Oh, okay. All right, so we've got 1 trade in crude oil and 1 trade in platinum. So these are 2 separate trades. One was a 3 touch point trend line break. One was a 2 touch point trend line break. We are looking at a long position in platinum and a short position in crude. The long position in platinum got me $2,700. The short position in crude oil got me almost $20,000. It got me $19,066. Let's go over the crude oil trade first, and then we'll go over the platinum trade. Crude oil, 2 touch point trend line break, almost $20,000. Why did I get in? Why did I get out? All right, zooming out here, you can see we've got a 2 touch point trend line break, point A, point B, price broke. Love this setup here. Low risk, even though it was only 2 touch points on the trend line, still a great trade nonetheless. We've got an awesome entry. Price continued to just fall off a cliff here. So the entry was a short position at 70.01, and we closed because price got to an area of support at this 69.06. So I actually closed a little bit early. I should have waited until price got truly to this level of support at 67.66, would have capitalized on a little bit more profit there, but I'll take it nonetheless. We're getting close to the end of the year. The pressure is on, making sure I can tell you guys at the end of the year, guess what? I did it. I made it to 200,000. So closing a little bit earlier, I get it. Part of the process here. But I closed at the 69.06 instead of 67.66. But beautiful entry. Love it. No drawdown. Bar after bar after bar completely fell. We're looking at a short position, 20 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 1,910 ticks, and my R multiple was 0.97. All right, so almost $20,000 in crude oil. Now let's see the trade in platinum where I made $2,000. All right, we have got a long position in platinum, 2,000. Let's see, what did I do? Why did I get in? Why did I get out? We are looking at a 3 touch point trend line break, ideal. That is A+. We've got a 3 touch point trend line break. It's a low risk setup. The price is incredibly close to the safety line. If this didn't work out, the loss would have been minimal. We've got an entry here at 995.78 and an exit at 988.52. 20 contracts. We closed simply either because we were at a high. Let me see if I can zoom out and find a area of resistance here. It got close enough to the 1022, which is what I was looking for the exit. I closed a little bit before at 998. $2,798. So not a huge win here. Very small profit in comparison to the other trades of the year, $2,706, but great entry. So let's go back and just kind of dissect and review September. How many trades and what was our total looking like for September before we move on? All right, so if we look at the widget here in TradeZella, it gives you an awesome overview. You can see week by week how much you were up, how many trades you placed, your monthly stats here, your trading days. I traded 6 total days out of September. My monthly stat was $53,500 for a total of September. And then week 1, boom, we made $18,000. Week 2, $26,000. Week 3, nothing. Week 4, $8,200, totaling us for $53,500 for September. October, we took it way down, scaled it way back to the theme that we took for the beginning of the year. 1 trade a month, slow and steady, waiting for the A+ setup. September was aggressive, a lot of trades. There is something very special about this one singular trade placed in October. This trade got me to my goal of $200,000. Oh my God, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So I'm already experiencing a lot of pressure. I am getting so close to my goal. September, you can tell I was struggling. I'm trying to get so close to my goal of 200,000. I am placing too many trades in September. I'm trying to just go ahead and hit that goal and be done for the year. I wasn't presented with my $200,000 in September, but October did give me that last trade to solidify it, help me reach my goal. This was a entry on a 3 touch point trendline break. Great setup here, low risk entry, all the stars aligned. It was a great trade. The pressure was kind of getting to me. I made some videos that you guys may have seen before where I'm struggling. I'm like, you know what? Do I need to punish myself for wanting to place a trade just to simply get me to that goal? I wanted to go too heavy in a position because I could have easily hit that goal. If I just went really heavy in a position and it, within just a few seconds moved in my favor, I could have closed it. That's not smart. That is not risk management. That is not my strategy. And this is what I have to do being the kind of influencer and educator that I am. Everything that I do has to be repeatable. You guys have to be able to see the structure, the system, the process, the risk management. So I really had to bring it back and be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna wait. If I'm not presented with an opportunity in October, then I'll just have to wait for the next month. And I finally was. On October 21st, I was presented with a 3 touch point trendline break. It was a long position in crude oil. I went long here when price broke at 70.33, and then price continued to move in my favor. We closed it at 70.90 for a profit of $11,400. That was it. That got me to my goal. Now, there were moments where I should have continued to stay in this trade. Give me some credit here. Yes, I closed. I was it. I made it to the $200,000 mark. I should have closed over here, still same price, but a few days later. So you guys can see we've got an upward trend line here. Price is moving in my favor. We've got some ebb and flow here, touch point, touch point, touch point. Price finally broke my safety line, the line that manages my risk, that tells me when to get out or when to close and profit, right here at the same price, but just later on in the day. So I would have had to hold through some days of just ebb and flow here and then close it. But regardless, nonetheless, I will take it. A beautiful entry. We were able to close at $11,400. And then we did it. We made it to $200,000 in less than 20 trades of the year. So impressive. I'm very proud of myself, especially just seeing the struggles that I had in 2023, just trying to make the transition from day trader to swing trader, trying to get a handle on the higher time frames, to see it finally click and to see how proud I am and just to see how well I did for the year. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so 2024 year review, stats total as a whole. We're looking at 17 trades total for the year. Net profit and loss, $200,362. My profit factor was 9.77. My trade win percentage is 76.47. My average win to loss is 3.01. And then look at this daily net cumulative profit and loss. This is what I like to see. There is ups and downs, but we've got this beautiful gradual increase in capital all the way to our $200,000 goal here. This is my favorite thing to look at the end of the year, is to see the progress as a whole in one chart, one graph. Look at the ebb and flow here. We're making money. We got a little bit of a loss here. We're making money, stagnant. We're making money, a little bit of a loss. And to see the growth, this is what I want to see. Okay, so another thing that I'm very excited about, outside of the daily net cumulative P&L, which I love to see, is the Zella score over here. The Zella score is a combination of your win percentage, your win to loss, and your profit factor. When I tell you guys I got 100, I got a 100 A+ Zella score. I'll take it, okay? I'll take it. If that is the grade that I get at the end of the year for my trading stats, I'm here for it, 100%. Okay, so we went over my entire year, my stats for 2024. Now let's go over something that I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, which is my playbooks and the win percentage. Let me show you guys the importance and significance of having a playbook, but also how we don't need need to rely so heavily on the win percentage. Now, I only have 2 playbooks here, but there are many more that I use. There are trendline bounces, there are candle closures, there are retests, but these are the 2 most important that played a role in my trading this year, is the 2 touch point trendline break and the 3 touch point trendline break. Now, you guys can see by going through and dissecting every trade and giving it a label, giving it a playbook, you're able to see the stats each one can give you. So if you're trying a new strategy or you're trying something new and you want to see what's working better, what's not working, what do I need to eliminate, what do I need to add, this is a great way to do so. So I can see going over the year, which one was better? What entry or scenario or setup do I need to do more of next year and do less of next year? So the differences between the 2 touch point break and the 3 touch point break. Win percentage, you're thinking right off the bat, let's go for the 2 touch point because we're looking at 85.71 win percentage. And the 3 touch point, we're only looking at 77%. But let's kind of dissect this a little bit more. So we've got a net profit and loss. We've got a average winner, an average loser, a trade expectancy. Very different. So I want you guys to keep in mind, yes, the win percentage is higher on the 2 touch point trendline break, but my average winner and my average loser is not anywhere near as good as my 3 touch point trendline break. So over here you can see, yes, 85.71 win percentage. It was able to get me $80,000. But you can see the average winner was $15,000 and the average loser was $13,000. So I was risking a lot more on these 2 touch point trendline breaks versus let's look at the 3 touch point. The 3 touch point, yes, it only got me 77.78 win percentage, but I was able to capitalize on $123,000. And then here's the kicker. So my average winner is $18,000 and my average loser is only $4,000. These are much more low risk setups and I was able to simply just make more money on this 3 touch point trendline break even though the win percentage is less. So I'm risking a lot less than the 2 touch point and I'm able to make a lot more than the 2 touch point in the 3 touch point trendline break. So this is the coolest part about going through your year. I can see the 3 is still the reigning queen. It still helps me get A+ setups and capitalize on the most amount of money in the markets. So based on these stats, simply by looking at my playbook, I am going to take the 3 touch point trendline break next year and double down on it. Okay, so just this information alone, incredibly insightful and incredibly beneficial, especially for the newbie traders if you guys are learning a new strategy or trying to find out what works better and what you need to double down on. This is a great way to do so with your playbooks. Now the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Is Tori a scammer? Is any of this even real? Well, I've got broker statements to back it up. If you say it's photoshopped, at that point I don't know what to tell you. But I have broker statements from my brokerage. It is a US regulated brokerage in the US, TradeStation. Here we go. All right, TradeStation, here we go. My official brokerage statement. Now I did block out my address and my account number. You can see the last 4 of my account numbers so that you guys can go back and verify and cross-reference all of my accounts, make sure the profit and losses are adding up. The account number is the same across all of my videos. So now we're gonna go through the brokerage statements from TradeStation. This is January's statement. One thing that I do want you guys to note here, the beginning balance. I started my account with $112,000 here versus last year, my account balance started at $20,000. So big difference here. I'm trading with more risk and I'm trading with more capital this year. Now let's move on to February. February 2024, March 2024, April, May, June, July, August, and there we have it, October 31st, 2024, my last trade of the year, my last brokerage statement with a trade in it. That was my entire year's worth of broker statements. Now, I did show you guys the initial balance when I started. So some of you guys are percentage freaks. You need to know, I don't care about the dollar amounts. I want to know how much she made in percentage. Right here, you can see I made 180.57%. That's incredible. That's impressive. Now, if you guys want to see something crazier, I made over 400% in 2023. If you haven't seen that video, go back and check it out. So this is what profitable trading actually looks like. It's not about the fancy cars. It's not about the crazy lifestyle, but it's about being disciplined and following your strategy. This year, not only have I made $200,000 in profits, but I've also been able to help hundreds of students get profitable and amazing results, all by just trading trend lines. So if you're looking to learn how to trade this simple strategy, click the link below to book a call with me and my team. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I post a video. And I will see you guys next time with trendline trading tricks and tips with Tori Trades.